um, that the studio is Afton Creative Arts Studio. I'm here with some other local artists. This is owned by myself and my partner Jill. And we're all about upcycling and repurposing things, keeping stuff out of landfills, and exercising our creative muscles. So that's who we are. Afton, Minnesota. It's in the St. Croix River Valley. If you're ever in our neck of the woods, please come see us. I'm going to switch over to the project view. There we go. And you see that I have a very old and quite distressed sewing machine drawer. I'm pretty sure I picked these up at a garage sale. I'm going to pull the metal piece out of here because it's not needed. And there, so that's out. I'm not planning to use it in a sewing machine anymore. So my first step here, this veneer is pretty well worn, but it doesn't matter because we're going to use a very chalky paint that does not require us to use a primer or anything. So I have a chalk style paint. We're going to be using IOD clay and molds, and we're just going to get started. If there's anyone here, let me see. Oh, okay, you guys have sound now? Aha. You didn't have sound because the sound is with my phone. So now that I've got the phone connected back, we should be good on that department. So I think you heard me say I'm Liz with Liza Jane Designs. I am an IOD stockist in Afton, Minnesota. If you are in the area, I hope you'll come see me. If you're not, you can find your local stockist on the IOD website. I am painting this sewing machine drawer in a fairly thick, thin coats are better, but this is a thicker, thin coat. I'm not putting it on, dry brush style. I'm giving it a good coating of chalky paint in an off-white, kind of antique white color, because that's my preference. You can use, of course, any color you want, but I'm going for kind of a cottagey look, and nothing says cottagey for me better than off-white distressed wood. So our first step here on this is just to get a good coat of paint on that drawer. The reason I want it a little bit heavier is just so when I go back and distress, I just like the way that looks. So much of this is all personal taste. And I apologize for the shadows. I'm working outside. Stacy, yeah. Do you think you could come and man the project camera? My daughter handles that camera instead of having it on the stand. I think you will. Hello, Laura from Chattanooga and Claudia from California. My daughter's going to come help man the camera so you guys get a better view of this project. But for now, I hope I'm getting it in camera a bit. You can either look on the little, where I am over here, or the project side, where I am just putting paint around the edge of this drawer box. And we're just getting that painted up in this off-white chalky paint. And that's it. That part is done. So the base of the drawer, try to pick that up without touching the wet paint. It's all painted. I painted the upper edge. I'm going to set that aside in the sun to dry while we get into making some molds. So have you guys who are watching, have any of you done much work with molds? I absolutely love them. And the ones I've chosen today are, from my stash, which I keep in metal lunch boxes. They fit perfectly in metal lunch boxes. You see that camera is right in my face. I don't know. You want to see the project, not me. But here's the molds we're going to use today. Acanthus. And this one I believe it's Classic Elements. This is the newer Dainty Flourishes. And I have Rosettes and He Loves Me. And a very painty arm at this point. So we're just going to use those molds and make some castings for our decorative box. I have cornstarch. The brand does not matter. I'm going to put some of it in this cover because I don't want to contaminate what's in there. I might even just put it in a pile on the table, which isn't. I'm just doing that to keep my cornstarch so I can use it to make gravy later, right? So here is some cornstarch on this mold. I like to use a fluffy brush to apply the cornstarch into the crevices. So my plan for this is going to be to put some flourishes here with a central motif and to do some other motifs on the very end over here. So I am just picking out a couple of flourishes that I like the looks of. And I think in the new Dainty Flourishes, something I love here is that we have the positive or the both images. We've got this one that comes from here to the right and this one that comes from that same to the left. So we make mirror images of the same design. So we can accentuate our central motifs. There, that's a little better picture, I think. So I'm opening up a brand new IOD air dry clay. This stuff is fabulous and very soft and malleable. And I'm just going to press that into the mold that I want to use. It just goes in so nicely. And if you guys have used the molds, you know they have this micro rim that allows our thumbs alone just to get a nice, smooth, even casting that we can attach easily to a flat surface, or by using the clay while it's still malleable, you can put these on round surfaces or anything like that. I cast with my molds. I will use either the air dry clay, and IOD's is definitely my favorite for its ease of use and its ability to hold on to detail, and just it's a fabulous air dry clay. I also use quick dry resin. The Alumilite is what I use, and it sets up in 10 minutes. I have also used just concrete, the kind that you mix up from the big box store, like Quickcrete, I think it's called. Quickcrete can go in these. It will not harm your molds, and you can make stuff from concrete that will withstand the elements maybe better than air dry clay. I've tried a new product in the molds called Sculptcrete, and I'm going to be messing with that in August sometime. That allows it kind of combines the durability of concrete with the flexibility of the air dry clay. So if you use Quickcrete, you leave the casting material, you leave the concrete in the mold until it sets up. So that's 10-15 minutes. It sets up and you remove it, and as is with the quick dry resin, your casting is already firm. It comes out white or concrete colored, but it's hard as a rock like this when you take it out of the mold. When we use air dry clay, I think I'm going to use those two, maybe a couple of these for on the tops of the corners of the box. So when you use the air dry clay or the Sculptcrete, you'll see in a minute here that I'm going to remove the casting while the clay is still wet, while the clay is squishy, and I can wrap it around surfaces. So I'm going to be doing some planters pretty soon, and I hope to show you that on a Saturday video, that I pour the concrete planters, but with the Quickcrete, and then use the Sculptcrete this way to add pieces. And I probably should focus on the project we're doing. So here is, let's just demold these already. Anybody watching want to comment on if they have used molds before and what their favorite kind of casting medium is? I'm just going to roll these out.
Roll out.
And there is one right there already. Get my hand out of the sun so you can see. These are going to be my corner pieces. I mean, and as quick as that, right? We have these beautiful molds, beautiful castings for our piece. The other thing I'm going to want is a central motif here. So I'm going to look to my other molds for that, and probably use, let's use rosettes in one of the pieces from that. This is a gorgeous mold. All of these various options. I am thinking something around this size will look nice with these two pieces. So let me get my cornstarch brush, and we're just gonna mold that up, or we're gonna do that. I think my angle's pretty good right now for this. Okay, so Stacy's here if we need to pull her into service in a few minutes. When we get to applying things, we will, but hopefully the view. Hi, Doris from North Carolina. We had some big storms here this week. We had a lot of hot weather, and then we had storms, and the temperatures have cooled off a bit. We're only going to get to lower 80s today, so it's really pretty pleasant. I'm just pushing that in, sitting in the driveway at our creative arts studio here in Afton. There's a central motif, pop, just like that. It's ready. And my plan is to do this on the side of the box. These will be the corners. And beyond that, if you look in this smaller window here, I'm going to make bigger castings to go around this knob and mirror that on the other side as well. So I'm going to be finishing with molds, 3 sides, the short side, a front, and then this. These will kind of be alike, but this one has a knob and this one doesn't. Hello, Vivienne. Port Elizabeth, South Africa. Well, welcome. So you see what's happening here, right? We've got these castings that'll go in the corners. These will go on the front in the middle. And now I want to cast these bigger flowers from the rosettes that are going to go on the ends. And I will be cutting out the center of one of them to go around that knob. So let's just do that. And I think we're good for shadows. I know when I start pushing in, the sun is behind me, so I'm creating shadows on the work, but hopefully I keep that clear where you're trying to see the piece coming together. So it is so quick to do these. And they come out so beautifully and detailed. So using my thumb, I probably have some of the strongest thumbs in Afton. We're going to have the one for one side. There, just like that. And then I'm going to cast another one that we're going to cut in half or cut the middle out of to go around that knob. So have you guys worked with, thanks. I can't read the name because of the sun in my eyes, but it looks like Lenise from Ohio. Thanks for joining. And I love when old friends join in. I love when new people watch for the first time. So thank you for joining me on this Saturday morning. I open my shop here at 11, so this gets me here early, right? To be prepared for the day. I start off with a video at 10 o'clock my time, 10 o'clock Central Time, and then get the shop opened and continue on the day. So here is the second one, just as quick as that, right? So this, while it's soft, I'm going to do a few things. I want to show you guys that it is okay to paint these while they're wet, or I'm saying wet, and by that I mean they're still flexible, they're pliable, they're not cured and hard yet. And I want to do that because I'm going to paint these dark brown to go on the boxes that we're using, to go on the sewing machine drawers, so that later when I put the same off-white paint on there, I'll distress it back so these look like they are also made from wood. So I have a dark brown paint, again the chalky style paint. I'm going to use the outside of the clay for my palette here to hold on to some of that. I'm just going to pour some out on there and grab a brush. This is a well-loved, well-worn brush, and I'm going to somewhat carefully paint here because it is still soft, right? So it's a soft brush and a gentle touch to get the dark color on it. I'm doing it now because I want to get it on that box where I can cut that out and move it around. So we're going to do this like so. Hey Sherry, great to have you joining this morning. We're all pulling for Royce, right, as she's at her event. We know she's going to knock it out of the park because she's just fabulous. So our friend Royce will be always doing great things. All right, I'm trying to be gentle to not push out the detail in that flower. I hope, again, I think a cloud just came by. Oh, hey, Cal from Massachusetts. That's where I grew up. Where are you from in Massachusetts, Cal? It's funny when you leave home because, geez, home is so boring or whatever it is. And then I settled here in Afton, Minnesota, which reminds me a lot of home. So Afton looks a lot like Massachusetts and New England with the same kind of trees and a little bit of rolly hills. So I'm hanging on to what I love about New England, but here I am in the St. Croix River Valley instead. So you can see the detail on the camera better on this unpainted, but I have painted this with the chocolate brown. You're from Reading. Oh, I know where that is. All right. You can kind of still see the detail, and when we come over this later with white paint, we're really going to see that shine. So we're going to move on to, actually, the box I just painted. I painted one earlier to have it be dry, but the one I just painted is dry already. So we're going to work on the new one, I think. And I prepared some castings ahead of time, but I think we're going to try to work with the ones I just did. So these are castings from earlier that are dry. These are made with air dry clay. I have some here that I did with resin. And you see that once you put paint on them, you can't really tell a difference. So I choose what material to use based on like this kind of fine detail and thinness, where it's very, very detailed and fine here. I kind of like to use resin for, but flowers and stuff like that come out great with air dry clay. So let's just kind of finish painting a couple of the ones I just that I just made. I might want to water my paint a little bit so it spreads without me applying too much pressure. So it's going to dry pretty fast here in the sun, but a little bit more water on my brush to make that move around so I can be gentle. I've had folks comment on the birds in the background. I'm wondering, can you hear the birds? It's so gorgeous to be able to be outside and do this, which is my favorite thing in the world. So painting in the driveway, highly recommend it. Painting in the backyard. Painting anywhere, but painting out of doors is definitely my favorite thing when the weather is nice. So there is that. Mold number 2 painted for the ends of our piece. Okay, I'm going to wipe this on a paper towel, put it in some water. And now I am going to move to the some of the pieces I painted earlier that are dry. I'm not going to paint all the ones. That's a little bit boring, right? But I'm going to start putting my flourish pieces onto the front of this box, of this drawer. Try to make sure that's dry and clean so I don't get stuff where I don't want it. I think the better looking of this is going to be the front. And these are the ones I've already painted. That's kind of big for the flourish. I think maybe this daisy or this guy. Do we have votes? Sharita says too many bugs to be outside. Well, that's a nice thing here in Minnesota too. I mean, we definitely have bugs, but we don't have them like in some other parts of the country. And the mosquitoes won't come around till later today. How's that look? Do we like that? This is A. Let's get a a vote on if we like A or do we like B. I think A is a little more formal. And we're going to use those floral rosettes on the sides. I don't know. Do we like, you like, Ohio is voting for A. I think I like A as well. Now we go, do we go like that? Do we go like this? All the options. We have several votes for A. All right, so it's decided. We're going to use these and this. Now I want input, please, on this way or, I don't know, that way. I think I totally like, that's kind of cute. All right, this will be A. We have a vote for point on the bottom, like so. I think that's pretty lovely. And it takes up a lot of the drawer space. So yes, point on the bottom. Are we good with this, you guys? We're gonna go with this. You can't go wrong anyway. All of them were pretty gorgeous. So I'm gonna use Titebond Thick and Quick. These were cast, like I said earlier, and they're dry and hard. These were done out of resin. I can only tell that by the feel and the shine on the back because the clay ones really look about the same. So I'm going to use the Titebond Thick and Quick to glue these onto, I'm just going to open this up, it's easier, and use the back end of a paintbrush to get some paint out of here. So I'm applying the glue to the back of these resined pieces and just, there we go, some nice Titebond Thick and Quick on there. And we said point on the bottom. Let me try to make sure I've got the center pretty well here. And we're gonna go, drives my husband crazy because I don't measure, I eyeball. But you guys, if you know, you're makers, you know after a while, you can just tell what's right, what's the center. And if you can't tell yet, trust me, you will be able to tell soon. Okay, so the central motif is down, it's centered. I'm gonna reach in and grab some more Titebond and get that on the back of this. I think I want to try to place these around the same time, so I'm going to put my glue on this one. And there we have that. So I'm going to stand up so I can look down on this and try not to become a shadow over it. And figure out where to place them. I think that's pretty good. All right, there it is. I will use this brush to clean up some of the excess glue. There we go. And we're going to let that set up and dry. I am now, Stacy, this could be a time where I could use your help. I'm going to pull the camera out of the camera holder because we're going to work now on this end, which, you know, I'm going to work on this. let me find. So you can see in the center box there, that's what the viewers see. Make sure I'm not blocking the sun and making too many shadows. But we're going to work on this right here. And for this, we're going to use the pieces that we just cast. And the reason we're using those is because I want them to be the same on both sides. And we are going to be cutting that other one to go around the knob. So here, coming in. Whoops, that was too much. So we're going to put some of that back into the bottle. Oops. No, it'll go back in. And I knew eventually I would start getting my fingers gluey and painty, because I always do. So there's that. We're just going to stick this on. So the tight bond, thick and quick. One of the things that's wonderful about it is you can work on like a vertical edge, and this will stop sliding around very soon. If I needed to, I could put a piece of painter's tape across. Let's see, I had brown paint. Here it is. I'm just going to touch up there where the clay is starting to show through. Eventually, we are going to be dry brushing over this. I'll tell you a little secret here. Those of you who've stuck around, I'm going to put a little bit of this tight bond on the top.
I'm going to set this here, so, because you do need
painter's tape. All right, Stacy's going to go grab me a little painter's tape to put across. And I'm putting this tight bond on the front because something else tight bond and other glues will do is when that dries and I put paint over it, my paint will tend to crackle. And I like that effect. You know, there are crackle effects you can buy that are very reliable. And when you need something to crackle in a certain way, I love those crackle mediums. But where you're okay with serendipity, having the using the glue method, I think is kind of fun. We don't know what we're going to get when we use the glue. So I put some glue on the top, and as that dries, it'll create something going on that that'll provide for some cracking. So, Stace, you want to tear me a good sized piece of painter's tape?
Do you want me to put it on here? All sticky. Who would recognize you without all the paint on yours?
All right, so I'm going to I don't want it hard on that. I just want it enough, because I don't want it to pull off the paint I just put on, right? Mm-hmm. Now I'm making a little bit of a mess around here. It's okay, because I'm going to come back later and paint all of this over with this very same color. So a little bit of brown, not a big deal for me. Now we have the side with the handle. We're going to take the same piece or the same mold, and I'm going to just cut it in half, I think. Be nice if I had an X-Acto knife. I don't, so I'm going to just make a little hole, and I'm just going to break it in half, I guess. The center's going to come out. So this is important to do, right, while the clay is still. So there we go. I do have to put the glue on, so I'm going to take that back off. Did I surprise you with that, Stace?
You did.
You didn't know I was
I
going to
didn't know where that was headed, to be honest.
All right. Well, I kind of gave these guys a hint earlier where it was headed.
That's what I love about you. You keep me on my toes.
Yes. Doris. Well, thank you. It kind of looks like a donut now, and honestly, I did not have breakfast. This donut I may have to send you for donuts after. Stacy and I have developed a Saturday morning tradition, though, that after our live video, we've been known to run across the street to the ice cream shop and get, what do we get?
Affogatos.
Affogatos. And if you don't know what that is, you need to find out and have one. Affogatos combine the two amazing best food groups in the world, espresso and ice cream. And I always get salted caramel ice cream. You get a single scoop and then a shot of espresso over the top. When you first drink it, it tastes like coffee. By the time you're done, it's kind of melted, and you've got this delicious dessert with lots of caffeine. And I like that. So I'm going to paint with my finger. We're going to make the center of that brown. So that's kind of cute, right? We'll come around here. We'll come around. This one is drying with tape. This one is staying in place because the knob is holding it in place. Somewhere here I have wet wipes. Do you see those, Stacy? I gotta grab a paper towel. Anybody? Could you have a defense?
I know where they are.
Thank you, Diana. Good point. The squirrels are not messing with Stacy. She's a tough cookie, you know. She's a kind soul. She has actually saved baby squirrels when they were fallen from their nests, but she draws the line at when they attack her mother. She does not like squirrels attacking. You don't like squirrels attacking me.
Do I?
Do you? No. All right.
Will you hold this, please, so I can
I will hold this. It's okay. I put water on my hands and wiped them with a paper towel because there's always a way. We're going to go back now to do a little dry brushing over this. I'm trying to check the time. 40 minutes. So I got a piece of scrap wood here. I'm going to pour my paint right there. I'm going to grab a dry brush and just take most of the paint off and then dry brush. You want this?
So bad.
So we're going to do this. And like I said, I'm going to come back in here and clean this up. So any places I got a little bit of brown, it's going to be okay. We're going to dry brush over this. And when the white dries, we're going to distress and get more brown coming from underneath the white paint. So there we go. What do you think, Stace? It's looking pretty good.
It's looking pretty good.
I love when Stacy comes and helps me with these. It's just so much more fun. I mean, I like to work alone, you know. I like the lonely life of a maker. It's okay with me. But it's so much more fun for me to create a little bit in community with my friend Allie used to say it was like we were like 3-year-olds. We didn't really play with each other. We played next to each other. And I think that's one of my favorite. Just having people, and every now and then you can chime in and touch the piece. There, what do you think? Best way to learn and ask questions. I agree. I mean, on live videos, we can do that when we're in a small group. I mean, we all have things we're good at and that we've heard about or that we've tried, but we haven't tried everything. All right, I'm going to hope this glue has dried enough to just hold that in place. I think it probably has. So we're going to cover up my fingerprints where I made a mess around this. But you see, I didn't make as much of a mess as if I tried to paint the brown while it was on here. I'm gonna, there's a little wetness there. I may have to come in later with more white, but that is all right. We can do that. Yeah, I'm getting brown from the, that's all right. We'd touch up again later. Okay.
Now I can't stop thinking about affogatos.
Well, it won't be long. We'll be done, and we can go get
Should we
an
get
affogato.
crazy and make it a double this time?
Ooh, a double espresso?
Mm-hmm.
Or a double scoop of ice cream, or both.
That's crazy.
All right, so there's that side, right? We got the end, the front, and the end that has the knob. So we're just gonna kind of dry brush on that. I'm still trying to be pretty gentle with, because the clay is wet. It's not.
We got a both for the ice cream and the espresso.
Oh, double shots of both, double scoop and double. Oh, Sharita, I love the way you think. Okay, I'm going to try it then. I will be having both, and if I vibrate off the face of the earth, Sharita, I want you to remember me the way I was. Crazy. So there is that. Yeah, we're closing in on this guy, right? That, I think that looks pretty good. Do you see any place I need to do anything else, Stacy?
Nope. Quit futzing with it.
Quit futzing. Okay, so there's that. There's the front. We're going to do a little wet distressing. I brought a rag.
I'm getting attacked by bugs.
Yeah, we do have bugs here. They're not like Florida bugs or Texas bugs. They're probably Tennessee bugs.
Will you hold this? This has been.
Nope. I want to wet distress. All right, that's driving Stacy crazy. There's a little bump.
My nephew would say, "This is bossering me."
Finnegan would say that?
No, Jeffrey.
Ah, it's bossering you. All right. Well, do you want to distress some on the top? Just over here, the paint's dry. We obviously, where we touched up, we're not going to be able to sand right now, but I just want to show the lovely folks at home how we're going to distress that. All right, so Stacy did that with a sanding block, the traditional method of distressing. Will you hold that while I grab my little cotton rag and a little bit of water on there, and I'm going to just wet distress. Same effect, really. And this paint is dry. What I like about wet distressing versus sanding, on the edges, it doesn't much matter. Either way works. But on the front,
I was going to say that.
What were you going to say?
How it looks
here. Yeah, that's cool, right? So we could do a little of that up here. But when we get to the drawer front, the sand, you just kind of, you get what this gives you, which, serendipity, I like it. But here I can focus in on the area I want to take the paint off. Like so. And just kind of there. I like how that's just barely. We got quite a bit. You just have a little more artistic control, I guess, of the effect you're going to get when you're using a tiny cloth. Now, wet distressing is only going to really work well, in my view, on a true kind of chalky paint that doesn't have a built-in sealer. mean, you can try it on other things before the paint dries. You'll be able to, but this effect of going into the dry chalk paint before you seal it, in my mind, it works best with true chalk paint or chalky paint. I'm using a clay-based paint here that doesn't have sealer. It could be a chalk paint, chalk and mineral, that without sealer. That is the important key part, to be able to come in wet distress even after the paint has dried for a while. So I think that's pretty good for now. We have
10 minutes.
Well, we have 10 minutes. We don't have to fill them all, but I want to, and Sharita, like I said, I'm using an old sewing machine drawer, which I think is charming as all get out.
Where did you find this?
In my garage. But I think originally I probably bought the whole sewing machine thing, I don't know, and salvaged the drawers. You find them at yard sales and thrift shops and Goodwill. When people, retire their sewing machines, the drawers can be put to good use this way. But it doesn't have to be a sewing machine drawer. It is, it could be used on any kind of drawer. I like these because they've got the rounded edges and such. But you can take your sander and round some edges. There's a lot of things you can do with any kind of drawer. So there's that. I'm going to keep on distressing a bit. The distressing for me marries up. Here we go there. Can you see that? Yeah. We're going to get more brown here to dance with the brown that's in there. Take some off these edges. And that's about it. Does anybody have questions before we sign off? My friend Cal from Massachusetts, are you still with us? My friend from South Africa, are you still with us? That is just amazing.
Is this Debbie's DIY paint?
Well, we don't talk too much about particular paint brands here because on the IOD page we are totally paint neutral. But I will say that Debbie's DIY paint, Annie Sloan chalk paint, the Dixie Belle regular, any of those paints that don't have a built-in top coat, those will work. Debbie's, yes. Annie's, yes. Dixie Belle, absolutely. And I'm sure there are others. And we really, really want to be paint neutral here because there are lots of great products on the market, and IOD retailers sell quality materials. And there are a variety of good quality paints. So I think that's it for today's video. Yeah? Are we good?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to still watching. Good. And thank you. I'm glad you liked it. Here's Stacy. She's the one with the dark hair. I used to have dark hair. Now I don't have dark hair.
Let's do it again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What a babe.
What a babe, huh? All right, you guys. These two babes are heading across the street here in a minute. Junk Monkey clay paint. If it doesn't have a sealer, I'm sure that'll work perfectly well as well. So any questions, please pop back in anytime. If you're watching on the replay, I will be going back to answer questions. So I think it's adorable. Let's do a couple of staging options here for this. Can we do that? Grab those flowers. I'll just hold it in.
This is heavy.
It is heavy. But I'm a strong woman.
Toss one of those babies in here. I don't know. You could set it on the counter and put cutting boards inside.
Why, look, I have a cutting board.
Whoa.
All right, how's that looking? I mean, that's a cute little centerpiece. That's something on your kitchen counter. I love it. You can also.
He's got water. Somebody needs it.
I think he's talking to
Thank you.
bicyclists that are driving down. I don't think he was talking to you, Stacy, but if you need water, go over. It'll save me money buying you an avocado. Okay, definitely going to try it. Awesome. I hope you picked up a few pointers in this. This is basic stuff in using molds and distressing paint. I had fun doing it. I love being here with you guys, so thank you. We love our viewers and we love IOD, so find your own stockist. If you're in my area, Afton, the St. Croix River Valley, kind of the Twin Cities area in Minnesota, come see me. And if you are somewhere else, please find your local stockist on the IOD webpage.
Bye.
So we're going to see you for now, and I'll be back next week. Bye now.